Good morning. We're in the Isle of Huahine this morning and decked out in safari gear. We're going to take a Jeep tour around the island. Come with us, see what we find on Traveling with the Doobies.
This morning we are joining an excursion offered by Windstar, the Huahine Safari Expedition. We chose this excursion as it offered a little bit of all the stereotypical activities of French Polynesia, and does so on an island about which we knew very little. So today we'll climb up to the heights of Huahine Nui, feed the Sacred Blue-Eyed Eels, visit a pearl farm, see where they grow that delicious Tahitian vanilla before stopping by a well-preserved sacred Marae, then finally taking a stroll around the harbor at Marae under the gaze of the pregnant woman. A lot to do in our 4 hours this morning. Let's go! Very quickly off the tender, we were split up into groups of 8, and since Grandma Bema and Danielle wandered away, they ended up in a different truck. So we'll get the perspective of 2 different guides today. We drive for about 800 yards before our first stop, the bridge. According to AI, the bridge that connects the 2 islands was built in the 1960s. But according to legend, the reason Huahine has 2 islands is because the god Hiro, while sailing his boat with his brothers, wanted to get some sleep. He warned his brothers to watch out for the land, but they neglected this duty and the winds shifted, blowing the boat into what was then the island of Roa, splitting the island into 2 pieces. In addition, the paddle of the god's canoe was lost in the very bay we have anchored with it. This morning, the water is just ripping through this narrow pass between the islands, and we can see below hundreds of foot-long needlefish lurking in the current, waiting to catch a morning snack. As our group gathers on the bridge, our guide gives us an overview of the island and the itinerary today. Over the gusts of winds this morning, we find out that the population of Huahine is about 6,300 people.
And on my left, the little island, a small island.
Huahine was an independent kingdom from at least the 9th century AD up until the time of the French annexation in 1895. Perhaps most interesting, of the last 10 monarchs of Huahine, 5 were women. Now the last of these queens, Teapapa III, was from the Tamatoa dynasty. Queen Teapapa I actually met with Captain Cook when he visited the islands in 1769. Back on board, we climb the main road, up the mountain and into the lush forest of Huahine. We are surrounded by bananas, large mango trees, and acacia trees. These trees were brought to French Polynesia primarily for lumber to make furniture. These softwood trees thrive and create a beautifully latticed canopy. The softwood, however, is a favorite food of termites, and branches do fall quite often. For those of us who have spent time in the deep south of the U.S., we quickly recognize the ground-covering vines that are climbing over everything on this island, kudzu. One of our guides had mentioned that this invasive vine was brought to the South Pacific by U.S. troops to cover gun positions on the islands. This may or may not be true, so just warning you. At the top of the hill, we find this immaculate roadside garden. According to our tour guide, his aunt helps care for this garden, and there are local groups who compete for the most beautiful gardens along the ring roads of Huahine. This one is a winner indeed. Next up, we'll wind back down the hill and stop by a small bridge in the town of Fai'i. We have a choice. We can stand up on the bridge or go down in the water to see the blue-eyed freshwater eels. Well, duh, guess what Doobie's choice is? One of the guides opens a can of mackerel and tries to get Big Joe to come make a morning appearance.
Come on, Joe. Breakfast time. Come on, Joe.
Should have had my pliers in my pocket.
Exactly. Yeah, that's Joe.
Ah, oh, wow.
That's Big Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, he's coming out. Wow.
Good morning, Joe. How are you, Joe? Sometimes they eat the by my person, I think, look, how do you feed it? Yeah, you know? Oh, yeah, if you want to touch the tail Behind the head, you see, you know?
Come in and check out. Oh no, don't get scared. Don't get
How are
scared.
you, Black Jackie?
Eels hold a special place in Polynesian tradition across the South Pacific. From the eel king killed by Maui that sprouted the life-giving coconut to being a symbol of life and creation, they are cared for and fed, and it is generally taboo to harm an eel. As we see Big Joe, who dwarfs the other eels in this small river, we can see that decades of mackerel have treated him very well. Now, they generally have very poor eyesight, but they do have excellent sense of smell. Now, they've also been known to pop out onto land to snatch a piece of food when it's close by. Getting up close to these eels was a real treat. I'll tell you, wearing water shoes was a great call. Back in the truck, we pulled into a small parking lot and were taken by outrigger canoe to the Huahine Pearl Farm. As far as exit through the gift shop attractions go, this one was worth it just to visit the Pearl Farm Lagoon. The designs of pottery were really quite nice indeed, though we were about pearled out.
Every day the captain opened one oyster just to understand how we get the pearls. And you have to know that in French Polynesia, they're all cultured pearl. Because to find one natural pearl, you had to open about 15,000 oysters to find one natural pearl. So you have to be lucky. Actually.
Now, some fun facts about pearls. It takes 2 years for an oyster to become mature enough to culture a pearl. The color of the pearl is influenced by a donor piece of mantle which is inserted with a bead in order to encourage the production of nacre, the substance that forms the pearl.
You can see the oyster beds with the buoys out there. They harvest the pearls.
The black-lipped oysters can become very large, up to 10 inches in height. And it takes anywhere from 18 to 24 months to culture a full-sized pearl. Back on shore, what kind of fruit tree is that? The next stop on our safari is at the ancient fish traps. These traps were originally built and maintained by the 8 chieftains who ruled in Maeva. They fell out of repair, then back into repair following the French annexation, and are now still used by families on the island. As fish channel in during high tide, they get trapped by receding waters, with their only really means of escape being into the larger circular ponds at the end of the channels. Here, the larger and tastier fish could be kept, while smaller fish allowed to return to the lagoon. Now, this is my kind of fishing. Across the street from the fish traps is a small memorial and cannons remembering 24 French sailors from the ship Uranie who perished during a conflict with the inhabitants of Huahine. Just around the corner from the fish traps, we stop at Marae, Pote'e, Maeva, and the Marae of Maeva. These stone marae were the meeting places between the gods and the people, with altars dedicated to the ancestors and the many deities of Polynesia.
We know in our head we have 16 gods. God for the star, God for the moon, God for the sun, God for the wind, God for fishing, God for the waters, God for the growing, God for the cultures. Everything before we use something, we pray to God. They help to us for we need something. Okay? Today, on 1797, the first missionary on the Protestant arriving here on the Polynesia, they tell them to stop the Christians like before. It's better my system for your system, because did you say you have a 16 God? I say just one God did you pray every day, or all time do you need help? Only one God. Sometimes we like to sacrifice the human, only man, not no the ladies, no daughters.
Yeah.
Only no daughters, only the men. Because we need the daughters, we need the women for the reproduction.
In addition to the ancient stone Marae, there is a small museum housed inside a recreation of a ceremonial meeting house. Inside, we stroll barefooted through the historical artifacts and also artwork of current residents of Huahine. This structure itself was built in 1972 and then rebuilt due to storm damage in 1996 and 2001. The Maeva historical sites sit on what was the historical capital of Huahine. Just a few kilometers up the road, we find the Maison de la Vanille. In the hothouse, we see vanilla beans growing from the orchid plants. As the beans mature, they will turn dark brown to black, a sign that they are ready to begin the drying process. It is around the drying table that you can begin to smell that characteristic sweet aroma of the fresh vanilla beans. Now, growing and drying vanilla is a testament in patience. Vanilla orchids take 3 years to reach maturity. And when they do mature, their flowers must be pollinated by hand within 12 hours of opening. Oh, and the flowers can basically open up at any time on any plant, so cultivators need to be diligent. Beans grow over 6 to 9 months, and drying vanilla requires the beans don't get too hot or they'll crack, so they must be moved into and out of the sunshine continuously. So add a few more months for that. In the small vanilla shop, there are opportunities to buy products. Just note, in order to take vanilla beans out of French Polynesia, they must be in vacuum-sealed bags. I opt for the homemade ice cream with chunks of fresh vanilla instead. As we finish our ice cream, Grandma Bama and Danny Doobie are in Marae and are learning a little bit more about the origin of the name Huahine.
So, in the movie, it's a sleeping woman. In the reality, on Huahine, we have a pregnant woman. So if you look behind me, you can see the head on the right, the nose, the eyes, and the hair going the lagoon. A little bit on your left, you can see. You see what you see? Okay, I think you know it. And if you continue on the left.
And as we walk around the small harbor town, Larry has taught me to always see what's living in the water. Down close to the dock is a Moorish idol. Marae is where the ferry from Pote'e will drop you off if you are island hopping by boat, and the town is close walking distance to one of the best local hotels and several Airbnb options. There are also several food trucks that are nearby, and as we pass by one grilling up some amazing smelling chicken, we start to realize it's almost lunchtime. But we got a lot done in that 4 hours. Back at the tender dock on Huahine, it's a great chance to kick off the water shoes and enjoy this beautiful natural aquarium as we wait for the safari trucks to return Grandma Bama and Danny and a tender back to the star breeze. Now this afternoon will be all about packing up and getting ready to depart the Star Breeze early tomorrow morning. But first we're going to have a nice lunch at Star Grill. And today it's cedar plank salmon and more of that fall off the bone roasted chicken. The marina is also open, so we'll get in a nice swim in the cool waters of Maro'e Bay. But what's this? The team on board provided a nice surprise to celebrate my latest retirement.
A little happy retirement sign. Nice. And wait, there's more. Oh, well, that's really cool.
Tonight's sail away from Huahine is our opportunity to celebrate the Starbreeze team as Richie calls out the departments one by one. From the restaurant, of course, the housekeeping, the engineering, and finally, our special Polynesian ambassadors. Thanks every one of you for a jam-packed and enriching 7 days on board the Starbreeze. After a last stop by the Star Bar and a cocktail from Jack, we head back to Candles tonight and spend that last of our $50 shipboard credit on a prime tomahawk steak.
Steak flyover.
Alright, let him put down the
The team also had a little sweet surprise on top of the regular dessert for our graduate.
So you're trying to kill us with the dessert.
That's why we opened the gym, eh?
After dinner, we enjoyed karaoke night before finalizing our packing. It's been a long day. Tomorrow we head back to Bora Bora though, so we're gonna say good night.